highvolumemusicradio.com. The Business Knowledge Broker Hour.
Hey, yo, Guru, you ready?
Business, marketing, accounting, social media, resources, strategies, tips, events. The Business Knowledge Broker Hour.
It's just savage business.
Grants, funding, capital, life insurance, annuities, finances, tax tips, strategies, music, business, local spotlights, business highlights, leadership, entrepreneurship. The Business Knowledge Broker Hour. highvolumemusicradio.com.
But I have to say, my next guest for the Business Knowledge Broker Hour is absolutely amazing. And when I say that I cannot wait to pull up her mic, because I'm going to have her introduce herself. And we're just going to get this greatness, because I believe in, giving visibility to organizations and entrepreneurs that people may not see in their everyday life. Think about it. When you're on social media and you see all of these threads, you see all of these posts, you may not get everybody. You might not see everything. You might not see every ad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the microphone of someone who is absolutely great. So I'm going to bring her up on the mics. All right, Dr. Lulu, are you there?
I am here.
Hey, Dr. Lulu, this is Candace Joseph of the Business Knowledge Broker Hour. I have to first and foremost say thank you so very much for being on the show tonight.
Banana, my pleasure.
Well, I decided that I want you to introduce yourself, and I want you to tell the audience about the greatness that you do in the space of pediatrics and mental illness.
So my name is Dr. Lulu, a.k.a. the Momatrician. I am a board-certified pediatrician, and I am a mom. And in my spare time, I'm also a book writing coach, a speaking coach, a motivational life coach, and of course the reason we're talking is because my job as a pediatrician kind of took me down this rabbit hole of youth suicide and youth suicide prevention. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like my jam, my current jam right now.
Well, I love it because the first thing that you see when you go to your Facebook profile is that you want to make sure that you motivate and create a suicide-free world. How awesome is that?
By the grace of God. So help me God.
Well, I have to say, I'm excited to have you on. I want you to tell the listeners of the Business Knowledge Broker Hour, about your services, what you do, and why you chose to create the wonderful platform that you did that can help those, teenagers and parents that are having those unresolved issues where they may not know exactly what to do with.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm not going to lie. I was minding my business a few years ago, and I had a 15-year-old boy come to see me with his mom. She wanted me to check him for drugs because she was sure that he was on drugs. Otherwise, why would he be giving away his stuff? And why would he not want to play football anymore? He's the quarterback, for goodness sakes. He's good at football. He loves football. And he needs to be playing football. And I was like, okay. So we took a look at him. His urine was negative for drugs, and he was clean. But his depression screen was off the chart.
Wow.
So I told Mom, I said, I think we've got a problem here. I don't think he's on drugs. I think he's depressed. And he's even, he's been thinking about, hurting himself and suicide. She was like, oh, just depression? That's all? Oh, honey, he's going to be fine. I had depression. My mom had depression. Everybody in my family had depression. I went fine. But he wasn't. Yeah. And on the 4th of July that year, he stood in front of the family barbecue, in front of the house, on their lawn, and put a double-barrel shotgun in his mouth and pull the trigger.
Ah.
And that was the last time I saw him.
Yeah.
Basically, when he came to see me in the office, and that was not. I mean, that was bad enough, but of course, it happens, and you're like, oh, it's just a one-time thing. But before that, I had lots of friends with suicide. However, it was a 7-year-old kiddo that came to see me when I was here in San Antonio that had attempted to hang himself twice. He was the reason I quit my job, essentially, as what I call a penicillin pediatrician, to start asking myself, well, why are these kids trying to kill him? Why would a child want to kill himself? And so that question took me to quitting my job as a pediatrician and writing and speaking and, getting on shows like yours, platforms where there are people of color, especially, because most people don't know this, and I didn't know this, but African American kids aged 5 through 12 are twice as likely as their white counterparts to die by suicide.
Wow.
Most people don't know that. So I just started asking myself and answering the questions and telling people about it, and here we are today.
Well, I have to say, as a motivational speaker, you're awesome. I want to first and foremost say that. And I want to say that I love the fact that, you said, okay, well, this is something that's tragic. This is something that happens. But it's also a conversation that people do not talk about. Sometimes people say, oh, okay, well, what goes on in the house stays in the house, in the space of, suicide, depression, even like you said in this example, the family history of, clinical depression within a family. So I thought that it was amazing how, you created a space for, not just the teenagers, not just the young teenagers and young kids to get help, but also the parents, to get that guidance, that they need along the way. When we think about what's going on now, we're thinking about, the online learning. We're thinking about people not being able to go and move around in their normal spaces that they're used to, and, have to wear the mask. And then here we are again, we're going to get hit with a hard winter because we had such a warm summer. And so then I think about that in the space of, the cold days, and then you're inside, and then that's something else that can, grow and manifest into, that gloomy behavior, So I love the fact that, on your website your website is awesome, by the way, because it gives those tools and tips, and it makes everyone want to have that conversation and to be a lot more open to discussing, teen issues, and not just suicide and not just suicide. You talk about health and wellness. You talk about, social
drug
issues,
use and teenagers,
peer pressure,
media, domestic abuse, bullying, racism. My most recent book is about racism. It's literally about how to teach our children about racism. Because African American children who kill themselves, we've also found that generational trauma is at the forefront. And what is at the forefront of generational trauma is racism. I mean, let's just come out and say it. Prejudice, racism, and of course, keeping families secret. People of color, oh my God, like, you can pray and have Jesus and still have a therapist. Like, you really need to do talk therapy. But in the Black community, we don't like to talk about it. I like to say that that is one of the things that the African Americans brought all the way from the motherland. The secret about mental health challenges, nobody wants to talk about it. But silence does kill. Silence kills. So we have to talk about it. We have to loosen the shackles of shame and stigma around suicide. I mean, there's just no way around it. We just got to talk about it.
But even the articles that you have on your website are powerful within itself, and the information that you give, especially, nowadays in the space of social media, because now everybody's at home, and, I call social media the great highlight reel, so, it's kind of like that school yearbook kind of feel where people don't really address the hard stuff, on Facebook. And then when they do, you know, you think about it. Someone put themselves in a nice outfit, or, you know, they're on vacation, they get 200 and 300 likes. But if someone says, hey, I'm having a very down day, I need to, you know, reach out to a friend, they might get a few people that may put the, you know, the sad face or something like that. But how many people actually reach out? So
the sad emoji.
Yep, the sad emoji.
Actually, you know, I'm glad you said that, because I think I do have two things to say. First of all, when we first went on lockdown, I actually made a post on my page, and I was like, oh, goodness, this is so good, because thank God all those kids who are being bullied in school, they're going to be breathing hallelujah, amen. But the mistake that I made was, what if the enemy is at home? What if the toxicity is at home? And so I quickly realized that, wait, if the child is being molested at home, heaven forbid, there's domestic violence at home, which, as you know, or maybe not, October, which is last month, was National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. But also domestic violence as an entity just kind of went off the chain since we've been on lockdown, which is just such a shame, right? Such a shame. And then children are watching their parents getting killed or something, which is vicarious trauma, which is bad enough on its own. And then naturally there's domestic abuse, and you know there's emotional abuse also, and it just becomes this whole salad of just bad things happening to the child.
And that's the thing.
So
like,
that's another thing.
It's one of those things, like you sit back and you say, okay, you know, because even with here on my radio program, I always talk about, you know, making sure you do those mental check in with people. You know, I talk about the business stuff, and I talk about that too, but I do encourage that people use this time to have those open dialogues within their households about everything, you know, about finances, about life insurance, because that's something that people should really know about right now, especially with everything that's going on, changes in their health care coverage. And, you know, we have to look at it. We're in a space where people were furloughed, laid off, and then their kids are there every day. They don't know what to do with the kids don't know what to do with them. And so it's like, okay, well, do we figure out a family plan to work within our new dynamic? Because I feel like a lot of what's going on now is that people are not accepting of the new norm right now. The reality, yes. But that's also, believe it or not, that's your brain, the lies that your brain tells you. Your brain always tells you to focus on the negative, and it's never going to get better, and you know, things are always going to be this bad. But you have to train your brain to remind your brain that, wait, there's good things that's happening. You know, we're all at home, but we can also bond more at home. We can also get to know each other at home. That's true. We can, you know, I started doing this lockdown because my wife teased me one day about something about the neighbors. So that day I said, you know what, I'm going to start talking to all my neighbors. And now I speak to pretty much every neighbor when I walk around the neighborhood. But before the lockdown, I didn't do that. I always like, oh no, I'm not going to speak to them. I don't know them. But then I realized, you know what, I need to be the change. So I started speaking to my neighbors. Now I realize that my neighbors are actually, you know, they're actually good people, you know, within reason. It's so Texas. Within reason, right? But, I have to say, I'm glad that you said that. Wait, first of all, a round of applause for Dr. Lulu. Because I love that. You said, you know what? Hey, I didn't know my neighbors, so I decided to reach across and get to know them. And I love how you said that you have to find something positive within each day. Because I tell people all the time, we all have the same 24 hours, right? But I know for me, I encourage people to at least find one thing of beauty a day. One thing. That's good. You know, at least one thing, because... you know what? I'm going to push that to 5. I'm going to push that to 5 because we should always be about being uncomfortable. Yes. So whether it's 5 things, I mean, one thing is easy. Okay, I'm writing this down. 5. You can get 5 things per day. You can even push it to 10. You know, maybe today you're going to just listen to the birds. If you have parakeets in the house, so you can hear the birds. So maybe today I'm just going to go looking for birds to see
nature. Maybe you're going to look at the moon. Maybe you're going to look at the stars. You're going to look at the plants in your neighborhood.
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
Maybe look at only the blue flowers. Look for only the yellow flowers. I mean, something just to get your mind out of that funk. Because your brain wants you to be in the funk. It wants you to, forces you to do that. So you have to put yourself out of that comfort zone of always wanting. Safety is not growth. If you go for safety all the time, you're not going to grow.
Wow.
You must be about being a bit uncomfortable from time to time. You know what the caterpillar said to the butterfly? I think you've changed. And the butterfly's like, yeah, that's the only thing that's constant. Change. So the caterpillar is just waiting for the day that it's going to become a butterfly. That's change.
Yes.
But before it becomes a butterfly, it has to crawl on its stomach for weeks or whatever. I don't know how long the duration, and then becomes a chrysalis and stays in that little shell. But one day, the shell is going to burst open and you're going to get a butterfly. But not before the trauma of being on your stomach and, you know. We have to see the growth in it. I think, believe it or not, I think that COVID-19, if you don't look at the depth, there have been a lot of good things that have come out. Like we're speaking to each other now because of COVID-19. We would never have, met and connected on social media.
That's true.
That's one. And then number two, the fact that we wear masks means we get to see each other's eyes.
Oh, now
and
that's
the eyes
powerful.
Are the windows to your soul. Yes. And the truth is, if you wear a mask and you look at my eyes, if you allow yourself to look at my eyes, you can know when I'm smiling. You can know when I'm sad. You can know when I'm upset through my eyes. You don't have to see the rest of my face. So we're forced to look at each other's eyes now, which we never used to do before.
Well, I have to say, I've never thought about it in that sense. Because I always tell people that that's, amongst the human race, the things that we have in common is, things that could bind us together, music, food, and I always talk about smiles, but I never thought about eyes. So that is powerful. Thank you. Thank you for telling me that. I even wrote that down. That's powerful. And I love how you said that if you continue to play it safe, that there's no growth. And be okay with getting uncomfortable. I love that. I absolutely love that. I'm taking notes to Dr. Lulu tonight, okay? I'm taking notes.
because we think about it. Think about it, though. You can't remain in the. You know what happened with George Floyd? As painful as George Floyd, that whole incident. Look how much the world has grown.
That's true.
Look how much the youth were forced to take up their place in the community. It was the youth that went on the marches. It was the youth that were in the forefront. It wasn't the elderly. Our generation, my generation, we failed. They had to grow up very quickly. They were like, look, we're not going to take this. Whether it's the climate change, they're all out there. My kids are the Gen Z. I think one of them is the millennial. I'm not sure, but they are the Gen Z. And that is the generation that will save the world. Because they're like, no, we're not taking it. This is science. Science is real. Like, they're not about all this nonsense. They're ready for growth. They're ready for change. They are the ones, white and black, brown and yellow. They are the ones that were out there protesting. Every single day was the young people.
I agree with
George
that.
Floyd had to happen for that to happen.
Yeah. And then we have to look at it in a space of, like you said, with people being at home and having to be uncomfortable. We can look at, the current, political climate as well, and how people are getting educated on the issues. I think for me, that was one of the great things, because I was always that person that tell people, okay, make sure that you go out here and research the people that are running on your, local, state, and national government stages. Get to know those candidates, because they're the people that are going to decide your life. And I love it sometimes getting on social media where people are sharing the knowledge of how to, complete the ballots. I love that. I love how people are sharing information on the different candidates and the different ways that you could get knowledge. I love that. I guess because I'm a natural seeker of information and of knowledge, and I always wanted to have a a very rounded view of everything that goes on in life. I didn't never say I had to be expert, but I wanted to make sure that I understood the world around me. So I have to say, in some spaces, I'm glad that some conversations are open, even with everything else, the method and the madness with it, but we have to find the beauty and the love and the peace too. So
yes, absolutely. I know we're going to look back at the year 2020 as the year of vision. I mean, 2020 is vision. We're talking about our eyes and all of that, but the truth is, yes, 2020 is perfect vision, but really, in reality, the world had to do a lot of growing this year, and people had to pivot their business. People had to quickly learn how to regroup and relaunch and rebrand and all of these things. So if those who are going to survive 2020 are those who are willing to morph and change.
I love that.
And that's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about the same thing, how a butterfly cannot become a butterfly without first going through a caterpillar and a chrysalis stage. The same thing. That's what we're going through now. It's not the physically strong that is going to survive 2020. It's the mentally strong. And we're talking about mental now. Trust me, that's who's going to survive.
Wow. Well, you know what? I want you to tell the listeners that are tuning in, because I know they're getting this great knowledge for you. And I hope they're taking notes like I am, because I am definitely taking notes. But I want you to tell them more about the services that you offer through your website, and also how they can find you online.
So yes, I'm still a pediatrician. I still see kids, but I only see a very special niche of suicidal teenagers. My practice is a cash-based practice. So you basically sign up and you can see me once a month, every day, 3 times a day, 3 times a week. Because of the group of patients that I see, I don't even have a middleman. You literally call the number and it rings on my cell phone.
Wow.
Because it's important for them to be able to get to me when they need me, not go through the front office and back office and run around in circles.
Understood.
So generally I hang out on Facebook. So my first name is Uchenna and my last name is Umeh. But if you Google the word the Momatrician, Momatrician, you literally see my whole life, because that's a registered trademark.
Yep.
Otherwise, Dr. Lulu is also my registered trademark in the United States. And otherwise, my website is teenalive.com. So TEEN alive, ALIVE.com. That's my website. My practice website is youthmotivationalspace.com, because I'm basically a teen coach. I'm basically their coach right now at this point.
Yeah.
We don't give medication in the practice. It's not because people that are depressed don't need medication, but because I try to take care of everything else, and the psychiatrist can do their part of doing the medication.
Understood.
So my job is to connect with the teenagers and give them hope and set goals that are achievable, and just help them realize that they are loved and life is out there for them to just go and live their best life, something like that. So I'm more like a teen motivational coach at this point. Yes, ma'am.
Well, all I have to say is thank you, and I salute you. I definitely thank you for coming on this platform tonight and giving people that knowledge, because right now we really all need it. And thank you for being one of those change makers that are out here to bring about the world being a better place. And it does start with our youth, because our youth will lead us one day. And so I definitely applaud you, and I want to say thank you for being my guest tonight.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
And you're welcome to come back anytime to discuss any issues. You have my personal cell phone number, so you can reach me, and we can talk off air anytime. But just know that you always have the support of the Business Knowledge Broker Hour with Candace Joseph, here at Harvard Music Radio, and we definitely appreciate you being one of those great changers of 2024 people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll definitely take you up on it. I'll take you up.
Yes, because we should talk. We should definitely talk, because when I say more people need to hear they need to hear. They need to see you. They need to hear you. They need to read you. And tell them about the book. How can they find the book as well?
So I have 3 books. My first book is called How to Raise Well-Rounded Children. And so that's basically a parent's book. Mm-hmm. The second book is called A Teen's Life, which is about teen suicide. It's about 12 teenagers and what they have to do with the 12 teenagers from around the globe. I have an Australian kid, a Nigerian kid, an American child, a child from Kenya, and whatever. Just talking about the things that teenagers are dealing with on a day-to-day basis, where you and I might think, oh, just being a teenager. No, this is like real life for them.
Yeah.
So that book is called A Teen's Life. And my third book is called How to Teach Your Children About Racism. All 3 books are on Amazon.com. If you type my name, you'll pull up my book. But yes, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I've been excited all day. I know your assistant was like, "Can we reschedule?" I said, "No, I don't want to reschedule. I want to do what I want to do today."
Yes, because I'm one of those people that I never want people to feel rushed in getting the information, and I don't want people to forget, because I want people to know about your greatness and the great things that you do in the space. So I want to thank you for being my guest tonight.
Thank you so much.
All right, you have a good evening.
You too, ma'am.
Okay, bye-bye.
HighVolumeMusicRadio.com. The business knowledge broker out.
Hey, yo, Guru, you ready?
Business, marketing,